So a while back, I made a similar video talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus and how it was already forgotten. And I expressed my thoughts and concerns in that video because it's been out for pretty much a few years now, and the game has not been touched with any form of post content launch whatsoever in like DLC form or whatever. And I was wondering, like, what has happened to this game? Like, is it already forgotten? Is it dead? And I'm going to be asking the same question here for Mario Strikers Battle League. Like, is Mario Strikers Battle League already dead? Like, what has happened to this game? I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I played Mario Strikers Battle League. It's definitely a fun game for a few minutes, but after like a while, it just gets stale so quickly because there's like no content in the game whatsoever. And what Nintendo has done to this game really hasn't helped their case at all, especially because the game has been lacking in post content. The game came out last year during the summer, and the way that it launched, it was pathetic. And people were actually review bombing Mario Strikers Battle League in terms of just PR reception. Like, this was actually one of the most disappointing games made from Nintendo, and a lot of people were upset because they were expecting more. They wanted there to be like more characters on the field. They wanted there to be hazards to the environment in the soccer field compared to the other Mario Strikers game. They wanted a little more, but all Nintendo has done in terms of just adding content to this game, in terms of just giving it post launch content, they had a roadmap and they've only done three major content updates throughout its entire life cycle. They added two new characters, one new set of gear, one new map, and they repeated the update. And for goodness sakes, they didn't launch the game with Daisy. You know, everyone's favorite sassy princess in the Mario franchise. They didn't launch the game with Daisy. That has been in pretty much every Mario spin off game. Let that sink in for a second, just as a reminder. Like, how did you overlook something so basic? Like, this is pathetic. And I think that it's safe to say that if this game doesn't launch with the basic characters, you know you're going to get some bad reception. And let's just say, for example, as I clear my throat, excuse me, let's just say, for example, if Mario Strikers Battle League launched without Mario or Bowser, then people would be absolutely enraged. People would have been beyond furious. But this game didn't launch with Daisy, and people were absolutely upset at Nintendo, and they added her in a update for Mario Strikers Battle League, but in reality she should have been in the game at launch. But besides from that, just not it just doesn't seem like not a lot of people even talk about this game anymore. It just seemed like a few months ago it just kind of died off. Like, people don't really talk about this game anymore. I haven't really seen anybody talk about this game that much on the internet. I haven't really heard anything about it. It's just like, what has happened to this game? And to make matters even worse, like, the game wasn't even that good to begin with. You only had quick play battles, which can play online or offline, or you can play cup battles, which is tournament mode. That's pretty much it. I mean, you get to use your coins that you earn by just playing the game. Yeah, that's awesome and all. But at the end of the day, like, who's going to be sticking around to unlock all the character gear sets for like a game that's quite possibly mediocre, that won't entertain people that much? Now, there is an article that I do want to read to you guys. Now, keep in mind, this article is old, but it still caught my interest and it kind of describes what I'm trying to get at. So, I do want to read you this article and I do want to clarify it for you guys. So, I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on this article as we go along. Released over just a month ago, it's been realistically a year at this point, Mario Strikers Battle League was met with some fairly negative reviews upon launch. While the gameplay itself was fantastic and fun, the amount of content within Mario Strikers Battle League was incredibly shallow. And unfortunately, this title is just the latest in Nintendo's recent line of disappointing sports games and the worst example of Nintendo's post launch support. Okay, so let's talk about this, right? So, since the game launched, I mean, just like it said in the article, pretty much about a year ago, it was met with fairly negative reviews. And to be quite frankly honest, the game literally had like no content whatsoever. Like I told you guys before I pulled up the article. Like there was barely any content whatsoever. There was only quick play battles, which you can play online against other people, or you can play it in single player against bots or against your friends in a local network. Or you could do like cup battles, which is tournament mode, which that was literally it. That was the only form of content that people really enjoyed. And like the article said, and like I've said already, the gameplay is fantastic. Like, I think they executed it fairly well, but the way that they handled this post launch content was just unacceptable. Just remember, the game did not launch without Daisy. The game launched without Daisy. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The game launched without Daisy. Just remember, she was not in the game at launch. And all they did for the entire game's life cycle is add two new characters, one new set of gear, one new map, repeat the update. Two new characters, one new set of gear, one new map, repeat the update. Two new characters, one new set of gear, one new map, repeat the update. That's all Nintendo did. They just copy and pasted this update 3 times exactly for Mario Strikers Battle League and pretty much just took a pile of dog crap, shoved it in people's face, saying, here's the game and here's the content with the game after its life cycle. Like, what the actual hell? Like, is this really all we get for a $60 game? Like, honestly, this game is not even worth $60. It's like, what? In my opinion, it's like a $30 game, $20 game at most. Like, come on, Nintendo. I think that anybody with a brain can understand, like, the way that you handled this game is just not going too well. But there is still more I do want to read to you guys, so let me pull the article back up really quick. Over the last few years, live service games have become a staple of the video game world. While DLCs and big expansion packs have always been around, the concept of a constantly evolving game, given regular updates every week or so, is something fairly new. With Fortnite popularizing this concept back in 2017, and other publishers discovering just how ludicrous, I think is how you say it, could be wrong, this new model can be, even more live service games have started appearing over the past few years. Even the biggest companies are starting to use this model. Nintendo's most recent sports games, and Mario Strikers Battle League in particular, are examples of where this live service model doesn't quite meet its promise. Alrighty, so before I continue giving my thoughts and opinions, some of you are going to be probably wondering, well, Nightwing, what does the live service part of the industry have to do with Mario Strikers Battle League? You said earlier in the video that you can play this game in single player. What does live service have to do with Mario Strikers Battle League? That's a good question. So the way that Nintendo tried to make this game is they wanted to make it so like you can compete against other people online. They made it so like you could have like clans, aka clubs, which is part of the online battles, and you can play with your friends against other clubs and try to compete on the global leaderboards. And they try to make it based around like online only where you can play against these other clubs and compete against these other people, but in reality it just doesn't work so well, especially because of the sports game part of the gaming industry. All sports games just don't really get received that well. I mean, there are some sports games that can get it right, depending on what company makes them. Honestly, if we ever got like a good sports game, it's like finding a unicorn at the end of the rainbow, just looking at a pot of gold, just sitting there pretty looking, waiting for someone to play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so rare that finding a good sports game is impossible to find nowadays. And that's just a shame because it looked like this game had promise. It looked like this game could be something that people were looking forward to. And this game looked like it was actually going to go back to the roots and actually try to cater towards what the audience have been dying for. But when we got the game, it just ended up as being a pile of dog crap that no one really seems to be interested in. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still some loyal people that do play this game, and I think that's awesome. That's amazing. But the problem here is just it's how is it supposed to keep the player retention? Like if people aren't going to be interested in playing this game, you're not going to get that player retention that you want for like the online mode. I mean, this game is already shallow enough, and that's just a damn shame because, again, a lot of people wanted this game to do good. They wanted this game to be better than the other Mario Strikers games. But since no one really talks about it anymore, and since the game is just so mediocre and so shallow, it just makes it look like it's not even worth anybody's time. And that's just a shame because a lot of people were looking forward to this game coming back, and Nintendo just ruined it. And like I've said in the past, all it takes now in today's date for modern gaming is one bad game release or one bad update to ruin a game's reputation or a studio's name. And that's a damn shame. So, with that being said, thank you guys all for watching, and until next time, I'm talking about Mario Strikers Battle League, and I'll see you all later.